When Corrie ten Boom and her sister Betsy were in a concentration camp as punishment for their family hiding Jews from the Nazis, her dying sister told her, Corrie, you'll get out of here. When you get out of here, tell the world what we have seen in this camp, in this concentration camp. That there is no pit so deep that the love of God is not deeper still. That is what it's all about. That the Lord is El Elyon. Say it, El Elyon. God Most High God, but He is also the Lord of the pits. His love goes down to the deepest, lowest, darkest place. Because if you're human, you've been there at one time. You've been there. That's what it is about being. You've been to the pits. Some of you, you've been to the pits of despair, pits of hopelessness, pits of sin, pits of guilt, pit of regret, the pit of fear, pit of rejection, hurt, abuse, self-hate, pit of the defilement, the pit of bondage, the pit of loneliness, the pit of darkness. You've been to the pit. And when you're in the pit, it seems like it's the end. In the pit, you can't see your way out. You can't see your way out of a pit, really, only if you look up. It looks like the end. And then something happened when you were in the pit. In that pit, at one point, you saw you were not the only one there. You saw Him in your pit. Why? Because He's the Lord of pits. He's the Lord of the low places. The Most High is the Lord of the low places. The Lord of the dark, He was there. He went down to the pit. He's Jacob's ladder. You know, one part touches the Most High, God. The other part touches the lowest place. He's not the God that you rise to. He's the God who comes down to you. Joseph was sent. They didn't go to Joseph. And we didn't go to God. He came to us. And not just to the pit, He came to your pit. He goes down to the pit of your gloom, your fear, your anxiety, your sin, mine too, just as much, your failure, your abuse, your fears, all that. And He meets you in the pit. That's where He meets you. That's why most of you met Him not on a mountaintop. I mean, I met Him on a mountaintop, but not spiritually. Not in a mansion, not at a party. You met Him in a pit, most of you. Most of you. Because that's what it took for you to see Him. That's what it took to get your attention, my attention. He's the Lord of the pit. Some of you were in the pit of alcohol. Some of you in the pit of sexual immorality. Some of you were in the pit of anger, some depression, some in the pit of drugs, some of it, whatever it was. It didn't matter. Emptiness. Maybe you had a lot of things in the world, but it was empty. That was still a pit. Don't ever forget the pit. Don't ever forget the pit that you were in that He took you out of. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget Egypt. Don't ever forget the pit. Don't ever forget where you would be right now if He didn't come down and take you out of it. If He had not done it, I'd still be in the pit. If He hadn't done it, you'd be in the pit right now today. Remember the pit, because the pit is a holy place because He came into it. Your pit is holy now because He came into it. Your life changed. You weren't alone. He was there. Even in your sin, He was there. And that changes everything, because we think, even to this day, we're in sin, and therefore God is far away. He's so separated. Well, there is truth that sin separates you from God, no question. But in God, here's the thing. If God comes into your sin, if He comes down to the pit, then you can't be separated from sin, because that's the whole point. He's on the cross. He's on the pit. He's with your sin. So that means no sin can separate you from God anymore, because God is with it. He's there with your sin, so you can't separate it. That those who are in sin are not going to be in God. When you see Him on the cross, that's what you're seeing. That there is no darkness that will separate you from God. Amen. And not just once, because even in salvation, you can find yourself in pits, because you're human. We're all human. People say, how you doing? Well, I'm in the pits. Hey, that's good, because He's the Lord of the pits. How you doing? I'm down. I'm really down. It's okay. He's the Lord of the down just as much as the up. You find yourself in the pit of sin and you mess up, you feel yourself, you're in a pit. If you have a conscience, you're in a pit. You're down, you messed up. But you know, that's not going to keep you from God. Just don't let it, because it's not going to. The pit is not going to keep you from God. The sin is not going to keep you from God. Let Him come into it. Then He'll get you out of it. And sometimes, the Most High, because if He can be with you, then there is nothing separating that can ever separate you. And it's not that you stay in the pit. God wants you out of it. Sometimes we say, just take me out of the situation. Sometimes we have to be in the situation until God joins us there, until we get close to God there, because sometimes you get really close to God when you look for him in the pit. What is that? We even need pits. We need pits. That's a quote. We need pits because that's where we often get closer again to him. We need the problems. We need because we don't want them, but because we meet him closer again. And we think, oh, just get me out of the problem. Well, the problem is he's going to use it. He'll get you. Then he'll lift you up. It is written, he took me out of the pit and he set my feet on a rock, is what it says. That's what he'll do. And when you see that pit in Hebrew, a well with no water, yet Messiah is the one who gives a well with water. So think about this. Messiah not only meets you in your pit and takes you out of it, but he turns your pit into a well of water. See, that's what a pit is. That's what the pit is here. That pit, that thing you hated, that loss, that problem you went through, that thing, that failure, give it to him, and he's going to actually make it a well of water that's going to give you life. It's a well. The pit is a well in waiting. Out of that problem, he will bring that. Out of that situation, he brings blessing. And out of that pit, he will turn it into a well of living, flowing water. He lifted me out of the pit. As it is written, who shall separate us from the love of Messiah? Shall trouble, shall distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, the sword? No, in all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Messiah. And in joy you shall draw waters from the wells of Yeshua.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA.